This is Poeartistry Gold, number 160 Perceptive Readers. We're in the month of July, and after a month or so break of catching up some of the with the podcast or sharing them with you that I made in Poeartistry Gold, even the legends, I wanted to start this back up again in these episodes. I've just really completed the limited series of the Sage's Lifetimes. You still haven't seen all of those posted. So, what am I telling you? I'm telling you that I have so many podcasts and videos that really, if you was wondering if something was going to still be coming out new every day for the rest of the year, oh, I assure you that there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Now, what I want to share with you today, though, in this Poeartistry Gold number 160, it still factors in who you are as a person, who I am as a person. I recently asked the question about what type of qualities do you have to actually be a civil rights promoter? Would you consider yourself that type of person? One thing about civil rights promoters, wouldn't you say, from watching the marches and things from the 60s, 50s, and 60s, that those persons, um, their hearts and motives, their energy was in the right place? And some of those motives were really still spiritually based, if not the majority of who they were inside. They were spiritually based on how God viewed each and every one of us, no matter what our skin color happens to be. No matter what our skin color happens to be. And also, one thing about spiritual teachings and spirituality, as I told you before, some persons, depending on how you're made up, hey, you may be placed in the role of just making the world beautiful, making life beautiful for yourself and others who you come in contact with. Then you have other individuals, because of the way that their spirit is. It's almost like, let me use the example of Lot. It was talking about when Lot was in that one city or those two cities called Sodom and Gomorrah. It was mentioned that those conditions, what he was enduring around him, it was tormenting his righteous soul. Today, some of us may say it was really messing with his energy, that people use those expressions at times. Yet, it's an interesting background as to how Lot ended up in that location of the world in the first place. But one thing for certain, see, God had continued to bless him. Lot was a rich man, whether you ever knew about that or not, but he had a lot of money. So Sodom and Gomorrah, it was still hustling and bustling, if you wanted to be able to make money, even though it was a lot of stuff that he put up with that was tormenting his righteous soul. And you can be thankful to the God Almighty in heaven that Lot kept his sanity about himself. Still, you see that Lot actually still kept his overall view, so to speak, that there was a real God and there was a true God. Now, with that thought in mind, this is what I want to state, because, I'm always talking about different personalities, people, whatever your role may be in life at this time. One of the things that that I've continued to call out, and I will continue to call it out, because let me state this for the record before Jehovah God and Jesus. People who actually would still go to great lengths to twist what you are saying about something that's really going to help somebody spiritually, medically, and things of that nature, and then will even try to put labels on you in this way or that way. Let me tell you, I'm not even going to use that word projection. What I will state to you, and because persons always try to twist or what have you, well, try to twist this fact. I've actually known of situations where the very persons who were not all sound, you see, in their thinking and their reasoning, go out of their way and will go to great lengths to get degrees and everything else behind them in order to still be able to somehow judge another, as if another person is one way and it's not. They're just living their life. These same persons will try to still place you in the same mental state and even view of God that you don't have. So what am I saying? What am I asking you? Who really has the problem here? Who really went and climbed the ladder in this way and that way with the wrong motives to control somebody that they shouldn't even want to control? That's why, I've all talked about persons who were wise and sages and things of that nature. And the whole point is, and I'm stating this for the record. You see, I have no problem, you see, with people who have just decided that, I know you believe in God, you see, and, and I got my spirituality over here or over there or what have you. And hopefully we'll end up coming to the same conclusions one day or what have you. See, I've ran into those type of people. And I knew, again, still before God and before Jesus Christ, it was none of my business afterwards to concoct schemes just because that person doesn't want to listen to me. It was none of my business to then try to throw them into some type of pool where they could be used for a social experiment on this level and that level. So what am I saying? You're not righteous in doing that. And whether you like when I say this or not, I know I'm right. And let me say this as well. This is where you're missing the point. I've always said every human, every single human, physically, you see, and even mentally, can actually, you see, be broken. They certainly can be broken in some way. See, I never said that they couldn't. That's why I told you some persons, before it even gets to that point, some of them will actually, even expire. What I mean, drop dead. I've also stated before something that I've even learned from my father, that you may run into individuals at times and you think they finally lost faith. You may think that they turned unfaithful in this way or that way, and really the onslaught of this demonic system of things already killed their mind before they even lost faith. Now you study that a little bit more. So this is what I'm continuing to tell you, perceptive readers. See, if you ever see somebody lose their mind in this way or that way, and you know they were doing their best to be good persons, are you going to all of a sudden listen to those persons that say, see, I told you this or that? No, those persons, something is wrong with them mentally. There's either something wrong with them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and much more. So that's what I'm continuing to emphasize to you. So let them, they have their right to say what they're going to say about the things I state. I continue to say it's something wrong with persons who can still look at individuals knowing this person is being abused until their breaking point, and then look at it as something that was so wise, so predictable, so knowledgeable about how to break people. That's a sick-minded individual who wants to do something like that in the first place. to somebody. That's why I said it once and I said it again. I mentioned those different type of experiments. I mentioned MK Ultra, all stuff that I know before Jehovah God and Jesus. It's condemned practices, condemned. And then what did some of these people do? In their knowledge that they have, that Paul talked about, how knowledge puffs up. So these people with these puffed up views of themselves then want you to look down on yourself for what little that you have. And then if you, like I say, if you pop off on one of them or what have you, try to make it seem like you're not a good citizen. No, they're the bad citizens. They are the ones that I told you eventually you better believe if God didn't intervene, they'll be the type of persons destroying civilizations and the worlds. Why? Because they don't even respect God. They show they don't respect God. And it's way on a level that go far beyond the type of people who Jesus actually walked around with and talked up with, and who had all these different problems going on in their life. You see, let me tell you, actions are certainly bad for sure. You see, but make no mistake about it, we're dealing with, there's a big difference between persons still just doing something really to themselves, or they're actually being herded, MK Ultra'd, and everything else to destroy their mind, to give this type of view more to place fear into the people, rather than letting them be able to make sound mind decisions. So here's the point. You find the persons like I've talked about, sages, people who promote civil rights, and things of that nature. You know what? And especially if you're younger than them, don't you dare. Don't you dare. You can even be a princess. You see what I'm saying, or whatever? But don't you dare go up to somebody who's already, may not even be a prophet, but they certainly got a mentality, understanding of certain spiritual matters, and then try and control their life. You need to just go ahead and listen or leave them alone. Certainly don't be a stumbling block towards them. Take care of yourself, perceptive readers. This was a Poeartistry Gold 160. What a way to open it up, huh?